50. Appreciate it. Way to go, man. After the turnover.
He's got a man.
Harburg going deep. Caught. Touchdown, Huskers.
What's up, Husker Nation? We are back. It is the recap of the Purdue game that happened just yesterday. It's Sunday night when we're recording this. You're listening to it on Monday morning. But boy, oh boy, does it feel good. 5-3. Nebraska takes down Purdue 31-14. Let me get the ticker rolling to remind myself. I thought it was a pretty clean game on the defensive side of the ball for Nebraska. We'll recap everything piece by piece, but I am joined by a beloved friend, the best man to be in my wedding, another Husker fan, Ben Chalupka, very passionate person. I'm sure he'll have takes to share with everybody that are interesting and out of the box. But we are happy to be here and talk about another Nebraska win. Like I said, Nebraska goes to 5-3, 3-2 in the Big Ten West, which is wide open, and leading into a road trip into Michigan State, which will be interesting to follow. Ben, how you doing tonight? How you feeling after a good Nebraska win?
Feeling good, feeling optimistic about the season. So it was a big win and puts us in a great position to go bowling finally.
Yeah, bowling would be nice to get that monkey off the back. How many people have used the excuse of, oh, Nebraska hasn't been to a bowl game in the last 7 years, whatever it is. Well, stick that in your pipe and smoke it, because this is the first undefeated Nebraska October since 2001 when they were in the national title. So it seems that Rule's building the right type of program. But let's take a look into the overview. Let's Purdue. Purdue only puts up 195 yards, another unreal showing from the black shirts. They're for real, Ben. Is this the best defense we've seen since 2009?
Yeah, I think 2009, 2010, those were both very good defenses. The next best one that probably comes to mind after that was probably 2021 with just all the older guys we had. But still, I think this defense is way better than we had in 2021. And the great thing is we're young on defense. We have a lot of young guys making an impact.
That's a huge point, because we'll touch on a lot of young guys tonight. They've made immediate impacts. I think even on the offensive line with the injuries that we've been riddled with, the guys who stepped in did a pretty good job yesterday, and we'll highlight when we talk about Heinrich and kind of what he did. But I thought the offensive line was pretty good for the most part. Going on to Purdue, they turned the ball over 3 times. That's pretty good. We talked about how much we needed to force turnovers rather than just allow them to happen at the end of the game. We kind of got one when Hudson Card had to throw up a pass to Tommy Hill on 4th and 13 to end the game. But the 2 before that were completely forced. Tommy Hill with another pick. He had a big day yesterday, which we'll touch on him. And then a fumble caused by Jamari Butler early in the first quarter. Very big, because Purdue was driving, and that kind of sets the tone and gets the momentum back our way, and our offense needs all the momentum. First downs, Purdue only had 10 first downs in the entire game. I don't even think that's worth XP in NCAA football. So that's not very good. The Black Shirts were splendid again, but we'll dive into them later. On the offense for Nebraska, looking over the team overview, 277 total yards, 4 turnovers, which is unacceptable. They put the ball on the ground 5 times. Ben, why are we fumbling the football so much?
I don't know. I think Harburg has been running differently lately. Like if you go back and watch the La Tech, the long touchdown runs he had, that some of them were called back, but he was hitting the holes, and now it seems like he's chopping his feet and going into contact a lot slower than he had. I don't know if he got his bell rung one time and he's nervous, but it doesn't seem like the same guy we saw at the beginning of the season.
Absolutely not. I mean, we touched on it yesterday when we were talking back and forth. It kind of reminds you of Taylor Martinez, and I think even a similar thing happened to Adrian Martinez, where they come in the game and the first 4 or 5 games of play, they're running like they're in high school where they were all dominant. And even if you get licked, it's 1 out of every 10 hits. In the Big Ten West, this is a tough hitting division this year. I mean, even Northwestern, who's I wouldn't want to say bottom tier team because they beat Maryland yesterday, but even they were laying the wood every now and then. So I know Heinrich was bloody a few times yesterday. He said he was bleeding out of his mouth and they couldn't get it to stop. That's pretty wild. But yeah, he definitely is running the ball different, and he needs to stop because it's taking years off my life when he chops. He just needs to hit a hole, go make a decision, because he doesn't have any jukes anyway. Very good. But yeah, 4 turnovers, unacceptable. But we had 14 first downs. Anytime you're converting more first downs than the opposite team, you're going to find yourself in a good spot. So that's good. Let's look statistically at the Boilermakers on the offense side of the ball. Hudson Card, you couldn't really find it yesterday, man. They threw the ball 32 times. He only threw 16 completed passes, 100 yards on the dot, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Those 2 picks both to Tommy Hill. What did you see from Card? What was your takeaway from the ex-Texas quarterback, Ben?
I thought his pocket presence was pretty well. We didn't get as many sacks as we had on other teams, so I thought he was able to avoid sacks pretty well. But I mean, we have really good defense, so I think we were in coverage pretty well. I mean, there was one pass breakup where I thought we got burned, and Isaac Gifford came in and broke it up. So I don't think he played horribly, but I think he was outmatched for the defense he was facing.
Yeah, I think that's 100% correct. I think Card is elite when it comes to his elusiveness in the pocket. He kind of got out of the pocket really well. I mean, we couldn't get to him, and it's a good defensive line Nebraska's had for the first 7 games or whatever it was. They only got to him once yesterday. It was on a big play. It was on a 3rd down, and then set up the block field goal. That one was credited to both MJ Sherman, and I can't remember the other name, but that was all Sherman on that play. It was a big play for the Nebraska defense, and they made a ton of them. Devin Mockabee didn't have his day. I know that I listened to Purdue's sidelines reporter, and he had said that Maccabee's really finding his stride. Well, not anymore. You run into a Nebraska defense that defends the run as well as anybody in the country, really. He only went for 7 carries for 42 yards, and he got the ball stripped out of him by Jamari Butler. So another good job by the Nebraska defense. And then at the receiver position, Jaden Dixon-Veal led the Boilermakers with 4 receptions, 38 yards, and a score. And that score came when we turned the ball over within the 30-yard line once again. I know we had touched on it in the breakdown of the preview, where if we keep putting our defense on, that's the only time we really give up points, because they are that elite and dominant, and they have been. So it's interesting to kind of see that Card fell the same way, but Nebraska finally made enough plays on the offense side of the ball where it really wasn't close. Offensively for Nebraska, you from Heinrich Harvard yesterday, who went 6 for 11 for 122 and 2 scores. What did you see from him through the air?
I mean, through the air, I was surprised that the belly G option pass worked again. I mean, that was like our one big play against Northwestern. We were able to kind of run that again and be successful. So, I mean, we completed 6 passes on the day. It's not a whole lot that I was excited about. But I mean, like
tough day to throw. Tough day to throw. It was a tough day to throw.
It was a tough day to throw. It was a tough day to throw. But I mean, I think our identity is going to be pound the rock and just score one more than the other team and let our defense bail us out. I mean, that's who we are right now. We're young on offense, especially in our wide receiver room. So I don't think this is going to be our identity for forever.
Yeah, and I think Nebraska fans know that we are young everywhere, and we know that as a super, super positive thing, because this team is still winning ball games, and sometimes handily winning ball games while being this young. So it's a really good look on Matt Rule. I can kind of get the hint. I don't know if you watched this post-game presser, Ben, but it seems like he's really settling in and learning that Nebraska fans are all over the place with these takes all the time on social media. And he's kind of like, damn, give us a break. You can kind of hint. He's not really folding under it like Frost did because we were losing, but he's kind of like, Jesus Christ, like these fans are all over the place and in my ears. So we'll see how Rule responds. If he keeps winning these football games, he's going to have a lot of fans in red. Emmett Johnson leads us in the backfield again. He's really established himself as a starter, Ben, and he's a guy that you've been high on since he got into a Husker uniform. What did you see from Emmett yesterday?
I mean, putting the game away, bouncing back and scoring that, I think, 28-yard touchdown to put the game on ice. I mean, Purdue had a lot of momentum. So just to then put the nail in the coffin, that's huge from Emmett Johnson as a redshirt freshman, gaining a lot of confidence. I think this was a game that really just put him on the map for Husker fans. So I think come fall camp next year, I'm not going to say he's going to be the starter 100%, but I think there's going to be a battle. I think he is going to be very, very confident next year and the rest of the season on.
I love that. I thought Emmett was splendid yesterday. I mean, he protects the ball really well. He doesn't run upright. He doesn't get cleaned his clock very much. He also took it to somebody. I mean, Emmett only stands at 5'10", 190. He ran through a 6'2", 225 dude like it was nobody's business. A 6'2", 225 dude who had drilled Heinrich earlier in the game on multiple plays, and Emmett ran through him like he was a little boy. So that was impressive to see. And then we got to give a shout out. Leading receiver, Dalen Lloyd, only the one catch, but when that one catch is for 73 yards to score, you're going to get your name on the stat sheet. So another young guy stepping up. He stepped into Malachi's shoe for a big touchdown catch. What do you think about this young receiver room? What do we really need to see to them down the stretch to make a bowl game and kind of reach what we want them to be?
Well, from our wide receiver room, I think we need to create obviously more separation, but also when we do create that separation, we need to hit them, and it's going to be crucial. We can't I think Satterfield said early in the season, if we start off our drive with 1st and 10 pass and it falls incomplete or we get a penalty, with the type of offense we have, that drive can be over just because of that. So we need to make the most of our opportunities. And I think as our wide receivers get more comfortable, they'll make it happen.
I love that. All right, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. Let's start with the Boilermakers. They weren't super pressing. They made some plays and they laid the wood to us a few times. Leading tackler, I had mentioned him in the preview. That kid is an absolute monster. He's going to be a menace, and I don't think he'll play at Purdue for 4 years. It's going to be a name that I assume will pop in the portal. I mean, I don't know if he has any hometown connections or wherever he's from, but that Dylan Thieneman kid, whoa. 12 tackles, 7 solo, 1 tackle for loss, all from the free safety position. Ben, what did you take away, not from Thieneman himself, but from the Purdue defense? I mean, we don't have most pressing offense. We know that. But what did you see from Purdue?
I mean, like you said, I thought they hit hard. I thought they, had the obvious game plan that they were going to attack the run on us. And, I mean, other than a few, we had that one long drive and the long pass. I mean, there were in the first half, there wasn't a whole lot that our offense got going. So I thought they played pretty well. But, I mean, I think they were just a little outmatched. I think we had better backs and skill guys, and they probably weren't prepared for it. But I mean, our O-line's banged up, and so I kind of thought they would get more pressure than they did.
Yeah, I didn't think they were the worst thing in the world. I thought Nebraska had some players that made more impacts than they have throughout the year. I thought Fleeks made a name for himself yesterday. He had a couple of big plays here and there, other than getting penalized. You're 25 years old. Please stop doing that. But then they really defended the run well on the outside. We couldn't get outside the edge much. Between the tackles with the new offensive line, those holes pretty often, we couldn't really. I mean, the only time we really got a rhythm going is when we put together a 15-play drive, and that included 2 3rd and 10s. So I don't think Purdue has a ton to worry about on the defensive side of the ball, but I think we all know the game-changing play was that blocked field goal. Nebraska turns the ball over. Purdue's got it. They get sacked. That's when MJ Sherman sacked Hudson Card for the first time and the only time throughout the day. They line up for a 43-yard field goal. Nebraska wedge that line like the Red Sea. Tommy Hill gets a hand on it, falls up to Quentin Newsome, and I'm sure we'll touch on that in our biggest play of the game. I assume that's yours, Ben?
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, what an electric factory. 30 degrees and absolutely freezing. Our toes are completely numb. We're standing on pizza boxes to try and stay warm, but that warm memorial up for a play. I mean, that's good to see. First time we've blocked a field goal since 2014? Is it 14?
I don't know if it's blocked it or blocked it and taken it to the house. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well,
but
it was good either way.
I was listening to Sean Callahan's podcast, and he said one of the coaches said in the press conference they noticed a guy on the field goal unit for Purdue, and so they put Elijah Judy, Ty Robinson, one other D lineman on him, and converged at him, and that was something they prepped on and to get that block, and just fell right into Newsome's hands. So to be able to scout that and see that and have it work out, it was awesome. Props to Ed Foley for noticing that.
Yeah, Foley seems like a guy that he's really invested in having the best special teams. I mean, special teams coordinator want to have good special teams, but he's really a high energy and demeanor guy that I think he truly means it. Like, he wants us to dominate special teams. And we have had way different personnel on the field for our special teams units now than we ever did under Frost or Mike Riley. I mean, it is truly the best players on our team. It doesn't matter if they're D linemen, linebackers, cornerbacks, wide receivers, or running backs for that sake. So it's impressive to see. And that was a big play in the game. All right, let's transform to the page that deserves the most recognition, and that is the Nebraska Black Shirts. I mean, this defense is swarming. I mean, this is a Purdue offensive attack that's put up some numbers this year, put up 44 against Illinois on the road. I mean, I don't know, man. This defense is different. Isaac Gifford leads the charge again, 10 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 tackles for loss. Unfortunately, Omar Brown goes down. I don't think he'll be back for a couple of weeks. They're thinking concussion. We haven't really gotten a confirmation on any of that yet. I'm sure we'll get it this morning, Monday morning. But that's a tough loss for Nebraska because he made a couple of big plays. But who really stood out for you on the defensive side of the ball outside of Gifford, or was it Gifford? And what did you see?
I mean, there's a lot of guys that stood out. You could talk about Tommy Hill. You could talk about Gifford, like you said, or Quentin Newsome. And then, I mean, Nash and Ty Robinson are always causing disruption. There's a lot of great guys on this defense. There's no star, which I love. It's just the unit themselves is the star. So I mean, there's no Ndamukong Suh. It's just there's so many guys you can talk about creating an impact, and kind of the Tony White has the hockey lines. Like he brings fresh guys in on drives, subs them in and out in mass. So it's really cool to see just how many different guys get rotated in on a defensive drive. So I would probably say Tommy Hill is my guy that for this game that stood out.
Yeah, we got to point out, I'm sure everybody's kind of heard it and saw Rule and kind of light up when he talks about Tommy Hill, but I'm not sure much of him as a character because even yesterday he was with Quentin on the mic and in the post-game presser, but Rule loves him. I mean, he's a talented guy. They think he's a next level guy, so we'll see what he develops into, but Quentin and Tommy have been through a lot. They've been through the worst of the worst when it comes to Nebraska football, so to see them have a good time running down the sideline to score a touchdown is, I mean, maybe it's a knock in old people's books that want to see sportsmanship, but I thought it was great. I mean, high-fiving at the 10-yard line in the most electric moment of the season so far was awesome to see. 8 tackles for loss this black shirt defense had yesterday and only the 1 sack. But I think we got to give a special shout out, and it's not a black shirt, but how about Tristan Alvano with the second longest field goal in Memorial Stadium history on a day where it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy, it's just gross outside. He boots a 55-yarder that was probably good from 60. Ben, as a guy, we can fight here. As a guy who wasn't high on Alvano 2 weeks ago, how much has your opinion changed in kind of the true freshman?
I think that helps him a lot. I hitting a 55-yarder is huge. I don't care if there's wind at his back. I mean, he still drilled it. So I think that helps him out a lot. It helps his image in Husker fans' eyes, and I hope he builds off that. So I mean, yeah, I was kind of like, I was hoping we'd give Bleak Road the nod a couple weeks ago, just after all the misses Alvano had. But if he starts becoming hot, let's keep him in.
I love that. All right. I got to mention it because I've talked about it a few times on this page already, and Reddit will have me if I don't mention it. But Jeff Sims kind of set his fate in stone this weekend. He gets thrown in a weird spot, runs the wrong play, his second play out there, gets tackled for a gain of 3 yards. And 4th and 1 comes up. We get somebody to jump. He doesn't hike the football. And then he runs the football on 4th and 1 to the wrong side of the field, which they're not blaming him. They said the wrong play call had come in, but then he fumbles the football, and that was Purdue's second touchdown. Yes, second touchdown. That was 14. It was 24-6 at that point. Second touchdown, but Sims, man, if I was hoping the turnover bug was just a first couple thing in Nebraska uniform and maybe you develop throughout the year, but he really set himself in stone. I mean, it's going to be the Harburg and Purdy show for the rest of the year. Hopefully it's Harburg because I haven't heard too many good things about Purdy, but who knows with this Nebraska team. But Sims, I'm sorry. I was wrong, everybody. I think Harburg is the guy to take because Sims is what he is, man. I really thought he would make a change. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I thought Nebraska, what was your biggest takeaway from Nebraska? What do you think that needs to happen next weekend to just improve on what they did?
I mean, I think our O-line needs to keep improving every week, especially with how we're banged up. I thought they played all right, like fine with everything that's going on, but keep building off that. And I think we need to make the most of our opportunities on offense.
That's 100% correct because we all know the fault of this team is the offense and their minimalized weaponry. It's minimalized weaponry. That's the best way I would put it. It's young weaponry. I think those guys continuing to step up will be a huge part, but we need to put together drives. I mean, 15 play drives that cover 9 minutes and we score is exactly what Matt Rule wants to do with Nebraska. And he was successful yesterday, and you saw what happened on the scoreboard. So big win for Nebraska. Ben, give me your player of the game and why.
Player of the game, I got to go probably Tommy Hill. I mean, his interception to end the game was huge. I thought he really proved why Rule likes him a lot and trusts in him. So I thought he played lights out, played like a black shirt. He's my player of the game. Him or Newsome. I don't even go wrong with either.
I think Newsome, and I've said this my entire life. Not my entire life, but this entire year, I think Newsome's a first-round pick, man. He should be, if not mid-second round, it's probably the latest he should be taken. If you wonder why have I heard his name that much? That's because no throws the fucking football to his side of the field. He is an elite coverage man. I mean, he is so good. And you saw a little bit of it yesterday. Hopefully he builds on it. We got his first pick last week, and then he scored a touchdown this week. So big week for Quentin Newsome. Those are two good games. I'm going to give mine to Isaac Gifford. I don't think it's a guy that we talk about enough. You can't mention his name and how he's bought into Rule's system enough. I mean, like I said, 10 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 of them for tackle for loss, and he fights through a double team and sticks somebody for one of them. This Blackshirt defense deserves all the recognition, and that's where all of our players of the game are within it. Great week for Gifford, and I'll be the first here to say it, and we said it yesterday. Is he better than Luke Gifford? Yes. Yes, he is. He will have a better career, and he's still young. He's still got a couple years, so Isaac's a very good player, and it was a good win for Nebraska. We already said our biggest play of the game was the blocked field goal that extends the lead 21-0. We got to put football games away. That's the only thing I would otherwise mention is we can't even let them back in the game. When it's 24-0, sure, you want to give up the 1 touchdown off the turnover, cut it there. You have to cut it there to become an elite football team, but I think Rule does a good job at communicating that with us as well. But good win. Closing thoughts, Ben.
Closing thoughts. I think we have every chance to win out. I think we could go 9-3. I think that's going to be tough, but I mean, who would have thought there's a chance to go 9-3 first year through? That's pretty exciting. So I wouldn't bet the house on it, but to just be in that position is awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited for years down the line. It's great. Great feeling.
Yeah, it's a dual blessing because we only have the opportunity to go 9-3 because the Big Ten West is atrocious at football. So thank you for the Big Ten West. Thank you to the Big Ten West. And I think you're right. I think they have every capability to win out. Iowa is going to be the ugliest football game. I'm sticking to that. It's going to be the worst football game on planet Earth. Big one coming up against Michigan State. We'll drop a preview here midweek, but good win for the Skurs. Love you guys. We'll see you soon. Go Big Red.